Welcome to Under the Spotlight. Right here on Just Jamaica TV. Thanks to those who have already joined our channel. And we look forward to those who will in the days ahead. As we turn on the spotlight, here is your host, Stafford Perkins.
Hey, okay. Welcome to today's edition of Under the Spotlight. I'm going to start out with something that I never advertised. I did not advertise it for reasons more than one. But I would like to start with this thing because it was a very important event in the Caribbean this past week. We got a visit from the U.S. Secretary of State, United States of America Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. And apparently it went well for Jamaica and the Caribbean. I am going to start out with this clip, and then because I'm waiting for people to start, but this I can always restart it later on. But let's just jump into it. Please, when you come on, those who are hearing, please share this live. Let your friends know that we're here. We are going live. I know the whole time thing is kind of off. You know, it's kind of thrown off by the daylight savings time. And so I just want to ask you to share, like, subscribe, make a comment, give that thumbs up, don't forget. And I am going to start rolling this tape because it's a very good tape and I'd like to have this in my program. All right, here we go. Okay.
In a closed-door meeting in Kingston that could have gone terribly wrong, Jamaica stood firm and walked away with a win. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio came to Jamaica with questions, pressure, and a message. The United States has serious concerns about Cuba's medical program and the countries that benefit from it. The quiet threat, visa bans, economic pressure, punishment. But what happened inside that room likely surprised even seasoned diplomats. Prime Minister Andrew Holness didn't flinch. He calmly laid out Jamaica's case. We follow the law. We respect international labor rules. The Cuban doctors here are protected, respected, and most importantly, they're needed. And Rubio, he listened. That moment in Kingston flipped the script. Rubio admitted Jamaica's program is different. He promised to review it with fresh eyes. In short, Jamaica didn't fold and the U.S. backed off, at least for now.
This is not about doctors. This is not about the provision of medical assistance. We have no problem with medical assistance. We have no problem with doctors. We have a problem, and I'm not speaking about Jamaica. We've discussed this today about, following international labor standards and the like, but I'm just talking about this program in general, how it's operated around the world. And how it's operated around the world is that basically the doctors are not paid. You pay the Cuban government. The Cuban government decides how much of anything to give them. They take away their passports. They basically operate as forced labor in many places. Now, there are places that have better labor standards. Perhaps Jamaica is one of those, and that's fine. But I'm describing generally what the program has been. It has operated in that way in many parts of the world and placed these people in tremendous danger. And so I think we can all agree that the trafficking in labor, be they doctors or farm workers, is not something that we would want to be supportive of. And we find that to be an egregious practice on the part of the Cuban regime. Now, every country operates their program differently. And obviously, because of our relationship with Jamaica, we're going to engage with them on that and talk about it further and have a better understanding. Perhaps none of this applies in the way it's handled here. But generally, that's the problem with the program. It's not that they're Cuban doctors. It's that the regime does not pay these doctors, takes away their passports, and basically it is, in many ways, forced labor. And that we cannot be in support of. Again, Not speaking about here in particular, but in general about the program.
Now here's why this matters. Across the Caribbean, over 24,000 Cuban doctors serve poor, rural, and underserved communities. Jamaica alone has more than 400 working across the island. Without them, hospitals would overflow. People in the hills would suffer or die without care. For 50 years, these medics have treated the sick, performed surgeries, and helped hold our health system together. But now, countries like Jamaica are being told to walk away from these doctors or face consequences. That's why what happened in Kingston is so powerful. It wasn't just about one program. It was about sovereignty, dignity, and standing up for the Caribbean. And here's the surprise twist. Holness walked in, defending the medics, and walked out with more. Rubio didn't just soften his stance. He promised action, real concrete support for Jamaica. The Kingston payoff. Number 1. The US will now crack down harder on illegal guns coming into Jamaica from American ports, a massive step for national security. Number 2. Washington agreed to intensify the fight against international gangs affecting many countries, including Jamaica. Number 3. There was no punishment, no visa restriction, and no program shutdown in relation to Cuban medical professionals on the island, just dialogue, understanding, and mutual respect. Number 4. The meeting proved that Jamaica can protect its people, keep its allies, and still hold its head high. In a time when small nations often feel squeezed, Jamaica just showed the region how to push back with grace and facts. Andrew Holness walked a tightrope and came back with a safety net. That Kingston meeting may not make the front page in Washington, but here in the Caribbean, we'll remember it as the day we stood tall and didn't blink. If you're proud of how Jamaica handled this, like, share, and drop a comment below. Let the world know. Many Caribbean leaders don't bow. We build, we balance, we rise.
Okay, I am going to have to see. Okay, yeah, I'm okay. Welcome, everyone. Those who have already joined, I'm going to ask you if you are here, if you're present, please let me know. And I would like for you to reach out to a friend or to anybody else, somebody who might be interested in this kind of programming. Now, I decided to use that clip because it's a very important, very, very important event that took place. Everybody knows that the big man up north is not, as sometimes we would say, he's not playing around, and he's demanding some things, and he called upon a person such as Marco Rubio to deal with this matter, because Marco Rubio is a Cuban. He's a Cuban extract, and his constituents are in Florida, probably mainly in that Miami. I think he's a senator, as a matter of fact, so it would be a good portion of Florida. And he has to, when you are a congressman or a senator in Florida, you have to play by the dictates of the Cuban people in Florida, and they're mainly in the in that southern section of Florida, down in the Miami-Dade, what they call Dade County, and below. And so when he's out there and he's advocating for the getting rid of the Cubans out of Jamaica, one would think, because of the way things have been going, and you hear a lot of, noise, dissonance, friction between America and its best allies, like Canada, Mexico, and, they've been like, Donald Trump has been pushing on these people, on these countries, to in his the way he sees the world, he has been pushing on them to, as they say, to fly right. And so when it came to Jamaica, everybody was very nervous, as to what was going to happen. Frankly speaking, I wasn't nervous, but I thought it was a great opportunity for Andrew Holness to show what he's got. I thought that his personality, his persona, would be one that would be suited for the time. Everybody knows he's not any kind of radical, nowhere near that, no kind of socialist, none of that kind of stuff. If anything, he's more in the American camp. He's in the Jewish camp because I think he and Netanyahu gets along very well. And the chances for him were, to me, much greater than a lot of other people. Maybe it wouldn't have gone as good with, say, a Markley, because Markley has been very loud about it and very talkative about it. And maybe it would have rubbed some people wrong, because they would see Barbados as just a little bug to, crush, beneath the heels. But even though Jamaica is not a big country, but because of the nature of Andrew Holness, it kind of softened things a bit. That we got a little bit more, a lot more out of it than we probably would have gotten out of, say, a Martley or a Gonzalez. Those people, they would have been showing that they're tough, and you can't be tough with a country like America, or with somebody like Donald Trump. So I just thought that it was a great opportunity that took place, and Andrew Holness apparently handled it very well. That piece of tape I just played, or that video clip I just played, I'm going to try to play it again later on as the numbers build, because it's very important. I don't know if there's anybody else. I'm not going to say nobody else in Jamaica would have done such a great job. What I know, it is quite likely that Andrew Holness was prepared well. Whoever prepared him for it, they did a good job. That he went in there, and from up front, there are some things he was doing, and I'm saying he got schooled well, because he was doing some things that, I said, oh my God, why did he do that? One of them is here. I don't have a picture of it, but you saw where he was resting his hand on Marco Rubio's shoulders and touching his hand, and who knows, if these guys are really not into you, they're not going to allow that kind of stuff, because it's saying to them, we're on equal footing, we are equals in this situation. But Rubio apparently took it well, and so he listened, and then he gave a good response. There's no guarantee that's good. It has ended where you saw it ended that day. He could be pushed to say, hey, go back and let them know that I want so and so and so. And then it's going to be a whole different thing. But I think once they know who Andrew Holness is, they would know that he's their man. And, his chances of going in that fire and coming out again, he could repeat it again. Let me tell you this. I went to Cuba last year. And I must tell you, that country is, the people, they are some of the nicest people. They're like Jamaican people. Jamaica has the only difference with, say, Jamaica and Cuba. Jamaica has this violence problem, as you know. But because the way Cuba was built with security in mind, because they were always expecting some stuff to happen, and things did happen. We heard about the Bay of Pigs, and many a times when attempts were made to invade. So they have built their system around what they said then, a concept of high security at all times. So when you go there, you don't get the kind of nonsense like you see in Jamaica. The people are just really nice. they have weathered a lot. They have suffered a lot. 60 years of pressure to get them to change. My thing is with this, the way the thing is right now, and it shows you that sometimes the one way that you might be thinking is the only way and the right way might not be. You know, maybe you just want to try something different. And so with that, you know, Rubio apparently went in there, saw the love, saw the charm of the Jamaican people, and he looked and he started listening with different ears. And he heard something. Because one thing we know with America has benefited tremendously from Jamaica's medical system. A lot of Jamaican doctors, they prefer to come here and work because the money is better. A lot of nurses, more than anything else, they come here because the money is good. They go to Europe, they go to, well, England, if anything. Canada has benefited. So we sometimes get drained of our medical resources, human resources, and we have to replace it. Now, Cuba, being our closest neighbor, 90 miles away, is a best place. Cuba produces an excessive amount of doctors, medical people, not just doctors, scientists, medical professionals, and Jamaica is there. They supply doctors to Europe, they supply doctors to Africa, and if America would give them a chance, they would supply doctors to America too. But because of politics, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody, I'm just saying what the reality of the thing is, but because of politics, it has fallen in this way. But I just believe, they said if you do the same thing over and over and expect a different result every time, it's considered to be the definition of madness. So I'm just saying, without sticking out any fingers pointing at anybody, I'm just thinking the time after 60 years, maybe it's the time to look at Cuba in a different way. I understand Marco Rubio and the Cuban people who are living here, they had to run away from everything they owned, and people are angry, and they're looking for more, they're looking for better, and maybe it's time to really start giving it a second look. How do you handle this? Because let me tell you something. I find that those people, the Cuban people, are very nice people. They love America. The ones who got a chance to come here, they come on like fellowships and things. I met people, professors, university professors, and they're very excited about America, and they were very, nervous about what would have happened to them. And I don't know. I have to send it to him again, because this gentleman here, he's complaining that he's not seeing it, and it's there. So maybe he doesn't know what he's looking for. So yes, so as I'm saying, so they really love America. That's the sad part of this thing. And they were praying that it would work out for them, because they have been through some tough times. So I'm just saying, maybe it's time, since it's not changing, people are suffering, but maybe it's time that America take a second look as to how they handle this situation. Maybe it's time. And that's all I have to say on that. Let me move to my big topic of the day. And maybe later on, before I go out, I will play that Cuban thing again. But so today, we're looking at the gentleman called, what's his name? The gentleman called, he's Andre Haughton. And Andre Haughton is Marco Rubio, Andre Haughton, the Andre story. All right, let me go to this.
Throughout the 90s, Percival James Patterson took over for Michael Manley because, as you know, circumstances. And Percival James Patterson was one of the best leaders we saw as it relates to infrastructural development, as it relates to breaking down monopolies and oligopolies that existed to stifle the growth of the average Jamaican. Black Man Time Now was the slogan because he believed in the power of you Not the power of a few rich people or the power of a few people, but the power of each and every Jamaican, where you are, how you are. He wanted you to have better, not just for yourselves, but for your children and your children's children. Over 17 schools he built up to now. Andrew Wallace now built one. How dare he compare himself to the great one? How dare he? The highway from Portland to Westmoreland, also the highway from Kingston to St. Anne, envisioned, instituted the blueprint by Percival James Patterson. I can remember one Christmas night in 1988, Gilbert came. And prior to Gilbert coming, because they tried to hold on to the value of the dollar so much, our reserves, which is what we use to purchase foreign goods, the US reserves that we have went into negative. So Jamaica found itself in a negative position, cannot access money to participate in foreign currency transactions. And it was very bad. The IMF came in and they said that, listen, this government needs shaking up. And the JLP government ignored them. Then, to make things worse, Hurricane Gilbert came in 1988 and ravaged the country. In order to rebuild, to get the equipment that we need, to get the cheap energy that we need to rebuild, we had to leverage the IMF once more. At that time, Michael Manley came into power again. And he came in and inherited a country that was destroyed throughout the 80s by the Jamaica Labour Party. The IMF, having recognized that Jamaica needs this foreign currency desperately, imposed on us what we call the Washington Consensus. So you can go and research the Washington Consensus. It was a 10-point plan aimed at moving Jamaica out of a negative reserve position to put in Jamaica on a positive developmental growth path. Now, contained in the Washington Consensus was a clause to liberalize the foreign exchange market. And when I went to the fund, IMF, in 2017, I spoke to a couple of their lawyers at the time, and they themselves admitted fault to pressure in Jamaica to institute the Washington Consensus without the necessary controls. What ensued? Because they forced us to, instead of taking our time to liberalize the foreign exchange market so the exchange rate can move from, at the time it was 4-1 to 5-1 to 6-1. The currency moved from 6-1 in 1990 to 25-1 in 1992 by the time Manley settled into power. Which means that if you owe somebody $6 today, and tomorrow you owe them $24, 6 4s, 24. It means that the exchange rate moving from $6 to 1 to $25 to 1 saw every person's debt in foreign currency increase fourfold. So the major banks who borrowed in foreign currency, Eagle Bank, Central National Bank, Citizens Bank, these banks that borrowed heavily in foreign currency, found themselves, instead of having a debt of $6, now has a debt of $25, 4 times more. And that means the entire banking system was going to crash. The entire banking system, because of the debt imposed on us by the IMF, was about to crash. And what had to happen? The People's National Party had to take decisive action. And it was at that time when we decided that we need a commission to help the financial sector adjust to what happened due to the Washington Consensus. And that is when FinSAC was established. So FinSAC was established as the Financial Sector Adjustment Company to adjust the financial sector to the fact that the IMF imposed the Washington Consensus and push up the debt of our major banks. And in an economy, if your banks fail, all the economy fails. So we had to take decisive action. That decisive action meant that that financial sector adjustment company had to help the banks remodel and liquidate. And that is how Jamaica was able to cope with the atrocities of what the Jamaica Labour Party did to us throughout the 1980s. So when you hear them speak about FinSac and they want the FinSac report, the FinSac report is no indictment on us. It is an indictment on the Jamaica Labour Party who pushed the country in the position that we found ourselves in by the early 1990s. And that is why, that is why they want.
All right, let me stop it right there. But yeah, let me tell you something. I decided to do that clip again because last week I played it. And of course, you know, sometimes you get something and you have limited time to listen to it and you miss some things. But when I went back and I started listening again, and I listened to other people doing programs, doing, you know, around this very tape. And one of them, let me mention her name, Michelle Stern, Jamaica 411. And she did a great job with doing the research and pulling the dates together and showing who was in control at a given point in time. Now, as I mentioned, it appears, I don't know what it is with, I don't want to sound the same like I did last week. I don't want to be saying the same things like I did said last week. But when every time you listen to this Andrew Haughton gentleman, he seemed like he's just talking off of his head, or somebody gave him a crash program in what FinSac was about. Now, Andrew, this gentleman, he was, when he came about, Siaga was in power, he was about, he's like about 44, 45 right now. So in 80 to now, he would be exactly about 5 years old. So he wasn't even here when these are aware of what was happening when these things were taking place. So he's either reading it from somewhere in a book, or somebody's telling him some things and they have misled him, because FinSac came about under PJ Patterson. I want you to understand this. FinSac came about under PJ Patterson. This Andrew fellow gentleman, Dr. Andrew Haughton, he's talking to say that FinSac came about under the JLP. It didn't come about under the JLP. It came about under the PNP. Now, one of the reasons, and I think, Michelle, if you want to listen to a good presentation or a good analysis of, or, you know, report as to what the exact date and time and everything, listen to her thing. I think she called it the FinSac deal, which made Margot and Peter Bunting rich. When the FinSac came about, it came about because when Siaga was there, and Siaga went to the IMF, of course, and when they negotiated, some people, I think they came from the London School of Economics to come help Jamaica to sort out themselves, to sort out itself. And they gave them some conditions to meet. And one of them was the, you know, stabilizing the dollar through one process, what they call liberalization of the dollar. And there was another aspect where they had to do to steady the ship in the economy. But when they were supposed to do it, based on what Michelle was going through the paces with, when they went to look at this situation, they said you can't do one aspect of these two things. You can't do one more than the other. Both of them must be done at the same pace. Of course, Siaga was there doing his thing and going along, you know. And I'm not here to praise Siaga because I'm not even a Siaga fan. But he left. When he left, Jamaica was rocking, you know, because he never managed to bring it around. But you see the way how when Peter Phillips took it, and it was very rough and rocky, but the way he went about doing it, getting the people involved, maybe Siaga didn't see himself doing that. That is the kind of person he was. He would not be saying to come into the people and asking them to work with him. He's more going to tell you, I say this way is my way or the highway. It's more like that. So maybe that's why he never managed to bring the thing around and to get the people on board with him. So when he left, and you know, the thing was going badly, people were protesting a lot, and then Michael took over after he was booted by the same Siaga. And that is what, after about 8 years, he was, you know, Siaga the country to himself because he won one election, and then a second time when a second election came up, Michael didn't contest because the PNP wasn't ready. And Michael said, no, I'm not going into that election on a bad voters list and all kinds of, you know, stuff that he didn't think it made sense. And so the Jamaica situation just kind of, you know, floundered along. And then of course, it moved on to PJ. Obviously, with the wrong people. I think when PJ first started, it was a gentleman named Hugh Small was his finance minister, and he and Hugh Small fell apart. They fell out. And these are two men who probably were good friends because they are two top-ranked lawyers in Jamaica. And I think Hugh Small couldn't work with what he was hearing. Somebody's idea was clashing with the others. And Hugh Small walked away from his job. In fact, he was so angry with what he was being asked to do that when the saying goes that the day when he was handing in his resignation, Patterson was attending a function and he gave the resignation letter to his driver and said, give it to him. He didn't even call his name. They said, give this to him. And the guy took the letter and gave to Patterson because Hugh Small decided to step aside because he wasn't onto it. So then here comes the next finance minister that was brought into play was none other than Omar Davis. And so with Omar coming in there and he and PJ apparently buddies, they decided to just buck the system and do all kinds of crazy things like the time when they say run with it. You know, if you hear the talk about run with it, for those who weren't there, are not sure what it was. Despite the thing wasn't going good, they were not following the IMF as instructed. They were doing what they wanted to do. They were just spending wildly, and the thing went awry. And when an election came up and they decided that they would just, you know, do a swashbuckling type of thing and just spend and win back the election because PJ was all about winning the election. Anybody will tell you who know him closely will tell you that, hey, once he wins the election, he starts campaigning right away again. He puts his machinery into work. Now this talk about, and I'm trying to just show you some stuff that Andre Haughton is talking, and he needs to really go do some serious good research. Because the first thing is, he's talking about PJ was being the best prime minister, the best leader. And he came in as Black Man time. The Black Man time wasn't because PJ was so much of a Black conscious kind of person. He wasn't into Black consciousness. He was into himself and whatever he wanted out of this thing. But at the period when PJ was coming in, Black consciousness was running high. The consciousness of the people of themselves, the love of themselves, and seeing themselves and embracing themselves in their Blackness. It was at a very high awareness within the people. You would never see people bleaching themselves the way people do it today, because that was like totally no. The Rastaman was more respected. He was more, looked up to, because he was teaching us about ourselves. So for PJ, because on top of that, Siaga was a white man, and one of the ways to topple him off his pedestal was to bring in this talk about black man time. He had a bunch of guys who were around him. One of them call him God. I'm going to call him God. And it's a group of them. And they were the ones who were just feeding at the trough, gouging at the trough. And so, you know, the talk about black man thing, it wasn't from no being conscious of yourself and being, you know, yes, he was a dark complexion person, the darkest complexion prime minister we have had. He wasn't the only black prime minister, because Norman Manley wasn't that light complexion, I can tell you. But the one named Hugh Lawson Shearer, was a, you know, probably a man about my complexion. And so Hugh Lawson was there. And so they embraced, they captured the imagination of the people with this talk about black man time, because people thought we had finally found a black leader, a black conscious leader. And he was on his gate post, the name Uhuru is the name of his premises, and the meaning of Uhuru is freedom. And that's when I tell you about Freedom Yard. You see, Freedom Yard was his thing. Let me go back a little bit to myself. So his name of his place is Uhuru, which means Swahili. In Swahili, it means freedom. And so we, you know, people have the opinion that he was, you know, a black conscious man, and embraced him on that ground. As I said before, I went to a meeting in Brooklyn that PJ was the guest speaker at, and PJ's thing was to us, he would in very short order, the teachings and opinions of Marcus Garvey would become part of the curriculum in all schools. Never happened. For the 18 years he was there, it never happened. So because that was not really him. You understand? That was not him. It never came up the way how Michael Manny, even Michael, a very light complexion man, he would be more connected to the roots class of Jamaica. And so he was not our best, definitely not our best leader, because he never lived up to the billing. People were looking to him to take us to another level where we would become more aware and more conscious of ourselves. The society would be built around the understanding of us as Africans, and we would have been, you know, up there and be connected more to the people on the continent. It's the teachings of the Rastaman, the Bob Marleys, the Bunny Wailer, you understand, the Burning Spear and culture, and those people who taught us and made us become very aware of ourselves. Not PJ Patterson, because he never did anything. There was a time when the society kind of went awry, and he came in with this concept about something like that, and attitudes. The name will come to shortly. But that was not him. In terms of the highways, he said, all right, let me go. He talked about PJ building the most schools in Jamaica. Yes, the population was exploding at that point, and there was a shortage because they had to go to our kind of what them call shift systems and all that thing. So you had to build more schools to you know, give more children, or if you can say all the students, all the children of Jamaica, a chance to go to school at the same time and not be going to school at night and coming home in the dark, because it was causing a problem. A couple of people got hurt with that kind of nonsense. So here comes this gentleman, Dr. Haughton, which is one of the things that grabbed my attention, to say that he's saying that Jamaica, that PJ was the man who brought in this thing of giving Jamaica the most schools, and that Andrew Holness didn't build he said not even a single school. Now, from last week, I know you will know that I'm a person who likes going to I'm gonna get something to read. 1 second, where's my thing? Why is it hiding from me? Shooks, where is it? Here. I'm gonna get it here. Okay. So he said that PJ built the most schools and that Holness, Dr. Andrew Holness, never built one. Now I went to AI and I say, AI, did Andrew Holness build any schools in Jamaica? And the AI came back to me and said, since 2016, when the same year Andrew came in, since 2016, all right, so I said, since Andrew came in, several schools have been constructed or significantly renovated in Jamaica under Prime Minister Andrew Holness's administration. Some of the notable projects include 1, Catherine Hall Primary School, located in Montego Bay. This school underwent major renovations to enhance its facilities. 2, Portland High School. This institution received significant upgrades and support for improved educational services. 3, Knox Community College. The college expanded its infrastructure with the addition of new buildings and facilities. 4, St. Thomas Technical High School. This school saw enhancements in its infrastructure. And let me go down some more. Come on. I said these projects are part of the broader government initiative to boost educational resources and ensure better access to quality education for students across Jamaica. For the most accurate and detailed information, it may be best that we go to the government, officials of the government, to get anything that might be more accurate than what we have here. So when he's saying, he might not have said broken ground and built schools, because we have had a history in Jamaica of people building schools and then cannot account for it. That you can't find the schools when they go searching for it. But to take a school and expand it and improve on the what they call the plant, the amenities or the infrastructure of a school, all of that he has done quite a few, and they just listed a few of them just now. And you go around the school, the thing. In fact, I think they did away with the shift system. I don't know if it's a 100% thing. I'm not sure if I would have to go to my AI and ask it to say, is it a 100%? Ask it, maybe say, how much percent of the percentage of the school system in Jamaica has been changed to from the shift system to a regular thing. But he has done quite a bit on the thing. So to go out and misinform and to me talking things that doesn't necessarily go that way or the way he's presenting it, it's nothing short of dishonest. He's a man out of the intellectual, whatever they call that place, UWI. And so one of the things you do when you're into academia is that honesty. They look for honesty. You write a paper, you had better not be you better get every dot every I and cross every T. Otherwise, you could be accused of, dishonesty. So when he came up and he said that, then he said, Andrew built, no, not Andrew, his guy, Patterson, built the most highways. That is not true. The PNP under Portia Simple Miller, Portia came after him. So before that, Peter Phillips was a man who was a minister of construction and maybe like development or something like that. And then those highway things, they started doing things on Washington Boulevard, all over the places, started realigning roads and they built these highways. And so Patterson was the prime minister, so, thing. But Dr. Phillips didn't get a chance to stay too long with those things, because once he started looking good, he shifted him to different ministries. He eventually shifted him to one of the most dangerous ministries. They said, when you want to destroy a man's political career, give him the ministry of national security. So he gave Peter Phillips the ministry of national security. And who knows what was his true intentions when he gave that to Peter Phillips. But guess what? Peter is a man who's known to shine at any one of these ministries that he's sent to. He did well in the Ministry of Health. He did well in the Ministry of National Security. He did well in the whole thing about construction and development. He did well. But the one place that he's most qualified for, he never put him there. He kept a man who was most disqualified, the man with the least qualification to hold that ministry, and that was the Ministry of Finance. He gave it to Omar Davis. And that is where the destruction of Jamaica started. And then he has these other people who they brought into play, the ones they call Mark Golden and Peter Bunting. They came in and they did their number. And, you know, unless it comes up as I, present my argument, to mention something about them. But that reality is well known by now. That these people are the people who had a hand in what happened to Jamaica during the 90s, right into the when did he stay until? He stayed until 1990. He came in 90s. He left about 2000 whatever. But by the time he was finished 3 years out of Michael Manley, and his 3 terms of 15 years, he did 18 years. And he was there. And the country saw one of the greatest collapse, economic collapse was under PJ Patterson. I don't know why they're trying to bring back PJ, because if we look at this, the man. I'm trying to find a clip here. I don't know. I'm not seeing it. But let's look. Where's the thing? I'm pretty sure I pulled it in. I don't know where it went. But under this PJ man is when we had the biggest collapse. Let's look at one of the people who suffered under this situation.
Very hard to cope with life like this.
After working hard for several years to build his dream house, he was thrown out in an instant. Losing belongings he and his family had spent years accumulating.
In Kingston,
the Finsack entrepreneur claims his house, which was valued at between $9 and $11 million, was offloaded by Finsack for just $3.5 million.
At the time when the house sold, they said that whole 11.8 million. And they said they sold it for 3.5, and I still have a balance of 7 point something. Up to now, I don't know if I still owe that money or what happened. I don't know if I have a money in my hand now, if they will come to me for that money, because they say I owe it, and I don't know if it's still growing interest. Because every time we ask for an account, nobody won't give it to us.
Mr. Willis says he ended
very, very hard to cope with life like this.
All right, sorry. I'm trying to juggle hard to pull in a clip. So that, you see that gentleman, and more than likely most of us have seen him already. But that gentleman is one of the victims of the work or what the result of a PJ Patterson. And I'm going to put something in before I get out of here, long before let me do something here. I'm going to give myself some cover, and then I'm going to pull in this thing. Let me get to it. All right, so it's not that. That's not the one. I'm going to pull something in here. All right, let me just go back to Mr. Patterson for a minute. That's Mr. Patterson up there, and looking quite sharp in his orange suit. In some other country, that orange suit would represent something else. But I am going to, in the meantime, while I do this, it's a nice one here to take. I'm going to take this out and pull in something. What am I doing here? Bear with me a second, please. Right. Really. That's what it wanted. All right, so, and I'm going to pull in a video shortly because it got left out and I know now why. So give me a quick second while I finish that. See? Bear with me one quick second while I find this. Find this thing that I'm looking for. And I think I'm going to put a tape there so I can get to it. All right, so I'm going to have to do something else to get to this thing so I can pull it out. But the bottom line, what I'm trying to take us to is to say how they have been trying hard, the PNP has been trying hard to resuscitate, to rehabilitate, to resurrect PJ Patterson and to try to say how good he is, because first they brought him out to say that they were bringing him out of the pavilion and it didn't pan out too good. And it didn't pan out too good because people came out who knew the PJ Patterson story and dumped that one in file 13, as the saying goes. But for some strange reason, they have decided, no, it's not that one, they have decided to bring him back in another way by bringing this young fella named Dr. Andre Haughton, to come do the bidding. And poor Andre is not realizing that these people, they don't care what happens to you. If you recall some of the bright stars that were out there running hard for the party and what they did with them when they wanted them out of the way to give their friends a seat, and after you have done a lot of work and they just say they want that seat for their friends and they just bounce you to the curb. And so that is, as far as they're concerned, that is that. They're done with you. So they're using this young man to come and sell their story and think that it is the best way. I'm still trying to get to this place where I'm trying to find something. When a person tell you that they're bringing somebody out of the pavilion, and when you see who they're bringing out of the pavilion, you wonder what is their ultimate agenda. What is it they're trying to achieve? And I don't know why I'm not finding this thing. I'm trying hard, but it's not coming, not showing itself. I captured it. Let me see something here. No. So I think I found it, This is it. Yes, I think I found it. And we just have to give it time to load. Yeah, I think I found what I'm looking for. And so they're bringing, for some strange reason, they're hell-bent on bringing back PJ Patterson. And the only thing I could equate it to, what they were doing to PJ Patterson, is what I call elder abuse. You almost want to, I'm going to leave what I was about to say, leave it alone, because I don't want to make it too frivolous. But because of very, very serious thing. Why are they so hell-bent? Is it that they don't think they can manage without PJ? Why are they going after him? And I'm going to show you how bad the thing is, that it should not be this situation where we are reaching for PJ, because PJ said he was in the pavilion and he ought to stay in the pavilion. And let me just go through this a quick second and show you what's going on here. All right. So that is PJ. Now, for those of you who might have heard or might have read it somewhere, I've seen this video clip before. That is PJ Patterson, because he had an accident. You know, after you reach a certain age, you should not be driving, and he drove into his gate post, and that it has left him quite physically not so solid as he used to be, not so strong. Maybe he's a little stronger now than when that video was done. But the bottom line is to take a man like that who's so not showing to be in the best of health, and no matter how much he might have improved, this is why when he goes to give a speech, when he was making that thing about come to set the record straight, the reason why he sat down, he cannot stand for long. This is not the first time we're seeing PJ sitting and making a presentation. It's not the first time. And the reason being is that his legs are not good. Now, if you say you're bringing out somebody out of the pavilion in that kind of condition, now you have to be one of the most heartless person or selfish person there is. Why do you take a man that age in that condition and bring him out to try to get your way? To come back and sell the black man time story, which was never a true story or an honest story. We have to, get real. We have come down to the place where this is where I'm going now. I'm looking good. At this time, I want to say, hey, if you haven't done so, please hit that subscribe button. Hit the like, and to make a comment, because I will eventually get to. I'm not sure if too many people are commenting, because the time this change of time sometimes can throw you in off kilter. So let me go to some. I know Avis is here. Good night, Avis. East Portland is here. Good night. Yeah, East Portland will stay green after this election. And Dele Brahma, big up, Mr. Perkins, big up. All right, so thanks all of you, because maybe you have, a lot of people might be caught up in another show because this happens, and or you might not say, I sure forget about that guy. We don't want to hear anything else about him. But I want people to just think about it when you hear these clips going, when you hear Andre Haughton talking to me what I regard as nonsense, because he thought maybe they might have given him a quick crash course. But if it's a crash course he got from those guys, if he took it from Mark Golden, first thing, Mark Golden doesn't know anything about Jamaica. That's the first thing. And if he went to Dayton Campbell knew very little bit about Jamaica, because he's not that much older than Haughton. So them know very little about the reality. Them hear some talk, some people go through life and them parents tell them some stories. This is the way it went, that's the way it went. And we go around and make it. Just hold on for me, Peter. Hold on, they give you stories and you go out and you go around and say that is the way things are, that's the way things went, and it is not true. And we see where IMF imposed Jamaica the Washington consensus. All right. And so they start telling these stories. I mean, I've been talking for a while, so it's okay if I bring in somebody. Hey, Peter, old faithful, what you have called? You must have heard something you want to add something to.
Boy, Mr. Perkins, greetings to you and your wonderful audience. I just want to say big up to everybody out there. And let me just tell you something. Look here. You see, Mark Jefferson Golden, Master Mark, a.k.a. Marky British, a.k.a. the Tapanaris Whisperer, a.k.a. the English Lord in Jamaica Parliament, Mr. Perkins. Not only did this man commit elder abuse for bringing out P.J. Patterson, now it seems that he might commit child abuse, Mr. Perkins.
Well, I'm not. Be careful with that one, because I hear where you're going, but I was about to say something similar, because we could be treading on some dangerous ground. So I know. Just let's skip the one about Andre. Yeah, all right, because he's a grown man, and we're not going to do that. So be careful. You didn't say it, so you just have to skip past and go to something else. You know, keep talking.
Mr. Perkins, it's very difficult to come and, see this young man coming out and talking the nonsense he's talking to Mr. Perkins.
Mm.
It does not make any sense what he's saying.
Yeah. But you almost could say, well, it is like childish or childlike or something like that, but, yeah, go keep making your point. Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make, Mr. Perkins, is that, last week, we come and say, it is a Dr. Strange. Well, I can't do Dr. Strange number 2.
Mm.
Because the kind of language that this guy is saying and using, Mr. Perkins, it is strange, It's a really Dr. Strange kind of language, Because think about what I said to you. The man come and said the IMF was wicked to Jamaica. Wicked.
Mm.
And yet him praised the man who took Jamaica into 12 straight IMF tests, Mr. Perkins. 12 straight.
Mm.
It don't make no sense, Mr. Perkins. It's like this Dr. Strange come out of number 2. Come out of the multiverse. This with the Marvel movie, they have them up the whole bunch of Dr. Strange from the different universes there, Mr. Perkins. And this is the Dr. Strange number 2 from the multiverse.
Mm.
And when he must say no make no sense, it no line up, Mr. Perkins. None of it line up.
Yeah.
None of it make any sense.
Yeah.
Out of one mouth he called PG the Great One. Out of the other mouth he said the IMF was wicked to Jamaica. And yet at the same time he might praise the man who take us back 12 times into the IMF. It's like this a kid that come out from the multiverse and make all kind of nonsense argument. I use what they call cracked logic because I'm addicted to the IMF. It doesn't make no sense, Mr. Perkins. None of it make any sense. We can't figure it out. 1 plus 1 now add up to 2 with them people here.
Mm-mm. No. And what you're saying, it's true. I can't. For a man who said he has a PhD degree, and when you do a PhD, it's usually a lot of research, and you have to come factual, because if you take it to your professor, when you do your paper and you put things together, you take a good professor and you take it to him or her, and they see a lot of misinformation or inaccurate data and all that thing, they're going to bounce it. They're going to throw you out with it, send you back to go redo it. So for him to just come out and make these spurious, talk about, spurious information about what happened, who PJ was, what happened with the IMF, and all those kind of things, and then bring out a big term, come talk about his Washington consensus, to think he was going to throw us off his scent because he used a big term, but it's all about the IMF. If the same thing that's in that Washington consensus is what they gave to us, and everyone, PJ, grabbed onto that like a baby grabbing onto a nipple buckle and just start sucking away at it And the result of that were those 12 years of, decline until we got to the point where the entire economy collapsed. And that is what Andre doesn't understand. This Andre.
Okay, Mr. Perkins. What Dr. Strange number 2 not even saying is that PJ was the finance minister.
Yeah, the time where when the whole thing started, he was the finance minister. True. What you're saying is true. When that thing started.
In here to start the fire, Mr. Perkins. PJ was the finance minister. In here to start the fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the problem right there, Mr. Perkins. The mouth is a blow upon the flames.
And this is what Andre is forgetting, or is trying to ignore, or bypass, to think that we're just gonna just take his word for it.
Mr. Perkins, Dr. Haughton, the Dr. Strange number 2 was the only person.
Wait.
Because I said to you, when they come from this multiverse, where this Dr. Strange number 2 come from, he use crackhead logic because them are IMF addict.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with them, Mr. Perkins. These people are IMF addicts. They're addicted to the IMF. They cannot live without it, Mr. Perkins.
Yeah.
They can't live without the IMF. Put the pencils them down, then come. Them addicted. Hey, the kid even come out and say, Mr. Perkins said, he might go for IMF headquarters in Mr. Perkins. He might for IMF headquarters. Where am I do up there?
He met with some lawyers. So again, PJ is a lawyer. Who else am I in there? Master Marcus is a lawyer. And a whole bunch of lawyers come to tell you how to run the economy. These are not. One of them, Massa say, he's a corporate lawyer. He don't have no business with people's feelings or fight for somebody in trouble. He's about protecting the Tapanaris clan's money. That's what his mission was, or mainly. His main mission was to protect his client, Tapanaris clients. Because they look a poor man and they get no money for him. For go protect, but the big Tapanaris man is fee money want protection, and they must tell him how to make more money. So for them, when they went in, how they made some money through this DBG organization, they were able to. They saw that if they pull one of these legs from under this table, that it would topple, and once it topples, then you could grab up the pieces and sell it off, because if drop a ground, it not good again, it can't eat again. But them know say you have some sharks out there, we eat it with the dirt and everything on it, and they make good out of it. One man became a billionaire out of it. A man who was a millionaire spent up some money. And look at that little old man whose life has been ruined by these heartless people, and they left him out in the dirt. The man living in the dirt, you see, he's like a dirt floor. He's walking around. His poor wife left out of this earth. Because of the
hard to cope with life like this.
After working hard for several years to build his dream house, he was thrown out in an instant, losing belongings he and his family had spent years accumulating. The Finsacked entrepreneur claims his house, which was valued at between $9 and $11 million, was offloaded by Finsack for just $3.5 million.
At the time when the house sold, they said that whole 11.odd million. And they said they sold it for 3.5, and I still have a balance of 7 point something. Up to now, I don't know if I still owe that money or what happened. I don't know if I have a money in my hand now, if they will come to me for that money, because they say I owe it, and I don't know if it's still growing interest. Because every time we ask for an account, nobody won't give it to us.
Mr. Willis says he ended
very, very hard to cope with life like this.
All right. So you see, that man he's still living to tell the tale of what he went through. And these men became filthy rich, including Peter Bunting, Mark Golden, and the guy named Daring. They all became filthy rich out of what happened. Instead of they were there protecting and to say, no, we can't sit here and watch people's whole lives go down the drain. People unalive themselves because they couldn't deal with it. This little man is stronger than a lot of them because he's suffering through the indignity in buying nice house wherever I'm at the house, living a nice life, working hard, growing his business, and they just suck the oxygen out of the thing, suck the life out of the people's livelihood and businesses. And they didn't care. They got filthy rich. Now, you know what? Most of them kind of gone broke, including the second iteration of business, the kind of sucker business. This one they call Proven. It came along to take up from where DBNG was. And they are not doing things are not going very well for them right now. So they're looking to come back into control of this thing and to, take more. So we shouldn't just be here sitting and our people in Jamaica need to take a serious look at what these guys will do, how they work, and they will spend a lot of money, as they have shown us in the past, to lie to people, to fool people, to convince people that they should vote for them. But the end result of these guys could be the same as Favor Williams say. What they have presented as a budget, the manifesto which they presented, they thought they could have fooled Favor with it, or present a manifesto for a budget. And Favor say what they are talking about is what them call it, something is FinSac 2, she say, is going to be FinSac 2. So if we want to go back down that road, we can elect them to run the country. Peter, I'm going to wrap up shortly, so make your point and let's, because I don't like going too long. Yeah.
Like I said, Mr. Perkins, if the great philosopher said, if you pray for the rain, you have to live with the mud. And if you take these guys and bring them back in the power, if you cannot give an IMF added power, Mr. Perkins, you cannot give them power. Because the moment the IMF added getting the power, Mr. Perkins, the first thing them ever run to is the IMF.
With that, we want to say thank you, sir, for joining us this evening. And we are going to move on and pull the curtains down on this one. I want to thank all of those who joined and listened. I hope I made sense with this program. And we look forward to coming back ASAP. Let me see. I didn't call up and say much about my people this evening. They don't care about Jamaicans. They just reopened. Maybe that's a reappeared. I think she meant to say. East Portland want to make sure can't post comments to some destinations. I don't know why. It's just a regular thing they put. And then YouTube doesn't like that phrase, so we refrain. Which one of them? Is it me? Della thing. Big up Mr. Perkins, which is East Portland will stay green after the election. Good night. I said, apparently, was it I who said something, Avis? Because she said they don't care about, not that one. The one that they say they don't like that phrase. Which phrase from using it? I wish I knew which one it was, because if we go say it again, it might create another problem. Because it shows something they can't post comment to certain. It's a person who's making the comment. All right. Oh, I see. Yeah, the caller. Yeah, I had to stop him with something because sometimes when you're on the outside, you think you can say things and get away. Yeah, I probably could get away, but maybe even YouTube could come at me, or so we have to be very, very careful how we say the thing. Yeah, I got you, Avis, and I had to pull him up for that. He's a faithful caller, and we appreciate everybody. And sometimes it's our duty as the host, or the one who is moderating the program to say how much who can say what and what you shouldn't say. It's our responsibility, our thing to stop people when they're going overboard. Because sometimes you're in talking, you can. This is why sometimes I get a little halting in what I'm about to say, because I want to make sure I'm not disrespecting or hurting anybody, or because the man is a professor. Well, not a professor, he's a doctor, a lecturer at the University of Western. So we have to be careful how we deal with it, how we treat him. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Avis, and I think some of the people, them, the time thing is kind of having people, a little way. But we will, as we work through the summer, going into the summer, yeah. As we go through the summer, we will get hopefully catch up with each other and fall in line a little better. All right, everybody, thank you. Bless you. Have a blessed Sunday night. Have a blessed week. And, I hope everything goes well for you. Those who are looking for promotion, that you might get a call this week. Those who are looking for a new job, hey, it's politics meeting time. Yes. And we're in a good time. I like the politics thing. And it's gonna get more exciting, and we look forward to what is to come next, because one of the big ones is gonna come at some point. We're down to April, May, June. We're thinking that it could be as close as June. So maybe by the end of April, we could hear the bell ring. And so we're looking for all of this. But we need to stop this nonsense about bringing out people to talk good about PJ. It's nonsense. We're not going to sit by and let them talk that nonsense and accept it. It's nonsense. The man cannot come back out in the street. He's in bad shape, and they thought they would have used him and tell him, oh, you're going to come out of the pavilion and open in batsman. Like I said, a batsman has to be a fit person. And you can't go and go take a man who is in bad shape and tell him you bring him to be your opening. All right. So my mission here is not to say humiliate a PJ Patterson, because regardless of how we feel about him, he served this country, and and he served his country, and he might, whatever he did, whether good or bad, we just have to say, all right, thank you, move on. Don't try to pull him back. Don't try to come rub it in people's faces. That poor gentleman, one we showed, who is suffering because of that. Don't come and push this thing and say you're going to bring him back. Those people have been unalive because of that nonsense. What happened? People are still hurting. Those who are alive. Children's lives have been turned around. I know people who used to live a certain way, and this thing came and just totally upended their lives. So I don't think it is right. Leave PJ out of it. Keep Omar Davis as far as possible out of it. Don't bring them back. Anybody. What you have to do is try to get somebody who's in charge of the party, who is not gaga go over these guys and doing everything you can to put Mark Wolin to become prime minister. We don't see where Mark Wolin possessed anything of value or quality, the qualities of a leader, somebody who needs to get this country back on track, the people of the country to get them back on track, thinking solidly and good again. We don't see it. And we're not going to be fooled by this and just jump off and go run behind these people. So, and we just want to call to the Jamaican people to say, hey, don't make that mistake. We might not get as lucky this time. You have too many people out there waiting in the wings to grab that country named Jamaica. You have the Chinese waiting, you have the English people waiting, you have Europeans all over, whoever else who are, ready to come take over, because there's something special about Jamaica. And we need to protect it. All right, everybody, again, thank you. Bless you. Have a blessed night. Have a blessed week. And see you soon. I'm going to try to come before, within this week coming. All right, sometime in the middle of the week or so. Thank you. Have a great night.